All right, everyone, welcome to YouTube lecture number 2. This one will cover passive verbs. Now, this is a pretty complicated lesson. So if you get the chance, try to make sure you're in a place where you can focus on what I'm saying and follow along with the handouts and the lists that I have included below the video. Now, what is a passive verb? What we might need to do is to actually think a little bit about what a verb is. One of the things we're going to talk about is what we call the parts of speech. Just quickly, let's list the parts of speech. We have nouns, which are persons, places, or things. Verbs, words which show action. Pronouns, which take the place of a noun, he, she. Adverbs, which describe verbs quickly, stupidly. Prepositions, which show relationships between the parts of the sentence: for, underneath, beneath, around. What are the others? Interjections, words that show emotion, like ah, yeah, that's an interjection. Holy crap, that's an interjection. Interjections, conjunctions, which join parts of a sentence together concretely, like and, nor, so. Those are conjunctions. There's one more, but I'm not concerned about that yet. We'll get there. Right now, I want to talk about verbs. Verbs show action: run, throw, maim, punch, jump, headbang. Yeah, you get the general idea. These words are always something that a person can perform, an action which can be undertaken. However, there's a special kind of verb. I will list them for you, but I'll also include a list of them below this video in the notes. So look down, because they're there. The passive verbs include be, been, is, are, was, were, being. I may have missed one or two, but you should get the general idea. These are forms of the verb be. Been, being, is, was, were, are. They show existing. Now, think about this for a minute. Why am I bringing these up? Why am I showing this to you? Well, rather than drag this out for minutes and minutes and minutes, let me just go ahead and tell you. These words are very bad for you. It's okay to use them a little bit, because if you remove them completely, you kind of sound like an alien. But one of the biggest problems I see in student writing is when students abuse these words. These are dangerous words because they're repetitive, and you rely on them because they're easy to go to. Part of the reason we have vocabulary problems is because we don't use more creative, complex verbs when we write our sentences. So, how do we avoid these words? The best way to do it is to take a look at the handout that I've included in the link in the video below. I've given you a comprehensive list of active verbs. Now, this should make your life a little bit easier, because what I want you to do as this course goes on, I want you to work on eliminating your passive verbs and substituting them for verbs that are more active. Now, look at the comprehensive list below, because one of the things we're going to do this week is we're going to try to find some active verbs that we can use in place of these passive verbs. Let me give you an example of one or two. Seem. Something seems well. Do you see how you could say it is well or it is good? But seem has a better connotation to it. Appears does something similar. I want to arm you with words that when you're using a lot of passive verbs, you'll have an active list of things you can go to try to replace it. But I'm not going to do all of that for you here. I want you to play with these words and try to come up with your own list. But that's for next week. What I would like for you to do today is to look at the active verb list and try to write 5 sentences that have no passive verbs. Don't kid yourself. This is going to be difficult, and that's why I'm letting you do this independently and giving you time to respond to this video. Next week, we're going to do some very complex exercises in groups to work with this concept even more. Because let me tell you something. Not only are passive verbs repetitive, but they also complicate and make your grammar even worse. If you're already struggling with grammar problems, using a lot of passive verbs in your sentences is not going to help you, because passive verbs make things complex. It's a strange idea, but I promise you, if you're using lots of passive verbs in your sentences, you're going to have grammar trouble. So this is one of the quickest ways for us to make our writing look more creative, more dynamic, and it cuts down on some of those grammar issues without even having to worry about talking about those grammar issues yet. So think about that. Now, let me demonstrate to you the difference between writing that is heavily passive and writing that is heavily active. I'm just going to come up with this off the top of my head. I hate Rhianna. I hate her. I have no reason to dislike her other than the fact that her music just makes me want to cry. I don't know. It's just one of those things, I guess. Well, let's say I want to be a music critic. And this is introducing you to the exercise we're going to do next week. If I want to be a music critic, I'm going to write something expressing to you how much I hate Rhianna. I could say, Rhianna is stupid. Rihanna's singing is bad. Yeah, I guess it kind of works, but it doesn't have a lot of flair to it. What I have here is a review of Rhianna that I have written carefully to not use a single passive verb. Now, this is going to sound very, 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 how do I say, this is going to sound really intelligent. And all I did was concentrate on getting rid of the passive verbs. It's going to sound good, but it's a trick that is almost perfectly reliable. If you get rid of your passive verbs, you instantly sound smarter. It's strange. And one of the things we're going to do next week is we're going to read a magazine article from Rolling Stone, and we're going to try to pick out the passive verbs. But without further ado, here is my review of Rhianna. No song in particular, although if you want, you can think of this as that we found love in a hopeless place. Bad. Anyway, here we go. Rhianna succeeds only in damaging the concept of music, with her mongoose-like wails and strangled cat syncopation. As a music critic, I prefer to listen to pots and pans bang their way down a broken glass-covered staircase. The United States Army should consider blasting Rhianna's horrific voice on the battlefield. Surely, enemy soldiers or combatants could not survive the ear-splitting cacophony of Rhianna's offensive crooning. Okay, yeah, it's a little much, but let's make a quick list of the active verbs I use so that you can get an idea of what kind of verbs are out there. Succeed, damage, prefer, listen, pots and pans bang their way down the stairs, cover, consider, blasting. That's a good one, right? Isn't that great? Blasting. Doesn't that just make you feel the power? I got to cut down the coffee. Survive. These are good words. They're words that make us react. They're descriptive. They're powerful. And here's the thing. If you're writing with these passive verbs, you're not going to have that level of detail. So look below this video, see the list of active verbs, see if you can give me 5 sentences without passive verbs. Don't freak out if 1 or 2 sneaks in. That's okay. But we're just getting our feet wet. I think that's all for this video. I hope it was at least kind of sort of enjoyable. And that's pretty much it for right now. Thank you very much, and I hope you all have a lovely weekend.